speak of Arkansas, she was one of the ones that got arrested yesterday. Denise, you okay?
This place right here, I just can't stand it.
I'll send him out when that was okay.
Did it go down too? Oh.
I almost sat down actually. So
It might be good for some other kind of activity you're doing. Get on there and go down together, But right now, that's what I need. That's not what I need right now.
we can raise just a little bit up to make sure you got time absorption.
Mm.
That's all you need.
Mm.
You all. Yeah. I think it's always funny when I get ready to get on the elevator and the doors open, they look at you. You going down? No.
Not on you. That is a good one. I'm gonna have to remember that.
You guys have.
All right, you too, Justin.
Breast and prostate cancers are the most prevalent in Arkansas. Joe says even with the uncertainty in the field, advances are still being made.
We're on the cusp of a lot of great breakthroughs. For the first time this year, we've actually seen cancer birth mortality survival rates go to 70%. So we're seeing actually cancer is becoming truly a problem that we know we can actually solve. It's no longer a death sentence.
I'm Frida Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Hello, everyone. This is Pat Ross. Marking the 67th anniversary of this track to the New Jersey Port. We have two. Sponsorship levels you can see on our site. Go to zeti.com, Riceville 21. We need your support for this event. Once again, March 14th at 6 p.m. Riceville Gymnasium, Riceville, Arkansas. The theme for the event, a night of unity, remembering the 21. We are bringing unity to the community, and we are remembering Riceville 21. We need you. Part of the policies goes through the Ash Foundation for Ashley's children. If you need more information, please call us. Area code 501-683-9940.
They said I got drunk. I'll be one of the guys. They said method helped me get through my exams. They said synthetic drugs would give me a safe high.
Substitute glue was no big deal.
Oh, listen.
I would party all night.
It would help me forget my problems.
He said he'd love me forever if I smoked crack with him.
They said I wouldn't get hooked after the first taste. They said weed wouldn't lead to harder drugs. They lied. They lied. They lied.
He lied. Find out the truth about drugs.
Drugfreeworld.org.
Drugfreeworld.org.
KABF 88.3 FM holds the gathering honoring the legacy of Robert Victor Griffin, longtime host of Quiet Storm and a volunteer with the station for more than 40 years. The event will take place on Friday, March 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the White Bar Network. It's located at 2500 West 7th Street in Little Rock. The event will include music, share memories, and recognition of Vic Griff's longtime contributions to community radio in Central Arkansas. KABF merchandise will be available, and attendees will have an opportunity to support the station and its programming. For more information about the event is available through KABF 88.3 FM 501-372-6119.
This is John Stoss. Anything that makes it harder for you to speak limits your life.
So if you or someone you know stutters, you can call the Stuttering Foundation for help. 800-992-9392.
Denise Daniel.
Grand Rising humans.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Okay, you got some announcements?
I do, and I'm ready today. I'm ready.
Okay. She said she ready.
Game night and karaoke hosted by Rhonda Aaron happened Saturday, March 21st, 2026 from 5 to 8 p.m. I don't know where. I'm gonna have to reach out and ask. It doesn't say where. I didn't even read this all the way through. And you can get tickets at sisterfriendsunited.com. This is game night and karaoke. I love me some karaoke. Saturday, March 21st, 5 to 8 p.m. Also, want you to know that the Little Rock School Board of Education elect. Here are your leaders. For Zone 1, Norma Johnson. Zone 2, Osiris Bali. Zone 3, Salandria Jackson. Zone 4, Eugene Krupitsky. Zone 5, Anna Strong. Zone 6, Anthony Nichols. Zone 7, Greg Adams. And then I want to just do another plug. I know you heard it before we came on. Can you hear me now? Lo said couldn't hear me on the radio. Can you hear me now, Lo? March 14th, the Wrightsville 20. No, he said he can't hear me on the radio. Wrightsville 21 is happening at for the 67th anniversary commemorative banquet in memory of the 21 Black boys who died on March 5th, 1959 in a fatal fire. And I'm going to talk about that another day. The reception starts at 6 and then the program at 7:30. And this will be at the Wrightsville Gymnasium, 13024 Arkansas Highway 365 South. I hope to see y'all there. I'm going to try my best. I know, no, I ain't going to try. I'm going to be there. Calling all published authors, be a featured author at our upcoming book signing event. Showcase your work, connect with the community, gain exposure, and meet new readers. Grow your author brand. We're inviting talented authors to join us for a fantastic event and share your stories with eager readers. If you want more information, you can dial 501-940-0143, 501-940-0143. You can also call 501-295-6936, 501-295-6936. He says, no, he still cannot hear me.
Testing, testing. Yeah,
Go over there and see if I hear you.
no, I'm gonna tell you, go ahead and speak.
Speak right now. I was talking. And also, if you want to do email, you can email wedream22 at wedream22@yahoo.com. wedream22@yahoo.com. Calling you live on the air, KABF at 8.3. Thanks for calling.
Hello?
Yes.
You're not coming in clear. It seems like you're in the background or something, you know?
Oh, okay. We're trying to fix. Thank you so much for giving us.
You need to be, you know,
Yes.
readjusted or something, okay?
Yes. Thank you so much for that.
All right.
So you think this is could it?
Yeah, I think it's the mic. Because I know to hear him this one.
Let me you talk. Let me see if I hear that.
Yeah, we have some mic problems this morning, and so we're just trying to figure it out. Because I know my main mic is working. Yeah. So as we figure this out, we got a busy weekend. There's a lot of different events going on that that we're gonna let you know about that you need to be a part of. So I got some announcements. Support for KABF 88.3 FM comes from UA Pulaski Tech, presenting the TEDx UA Pulaski Tech. TEDx UA Pulaski Tech is scheduled for Tuesday, March 17th at 2020. Oh, that's on this one. 2026 at 2 p.m. on the UA Pulaski Tech campus. This independently organized TEDx event centers on the theme, The Power of Voice, exploring how stories, ideas, and lived experience contribute to dialogue and community conversation. This program features speakers from the campus and from the broader community. Ticket information and event details are available at uaptc.edu/charts/ticketing. Support for KBF comes from UA Pulaski Tech.
I was trying to get another mic.
It may not reach.
I can scoot over. Huh?
Yeah. KABF celebrates the legacy of Big Grip. This is March 20th, 2026, 7 p.m. at the Whitewater Tavern, 2500 West 7th Street in Little Rock, Arkansas, 72205. So we would like to see all the community come out to celebrate Big Grip. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to have a lot of merchandise to sell. KBF merchandise, and it's just opportunity for the community to celebrate Big Griff, who was his show The Quiet Storm here on KBF was on the air. Oh my God. Almost I think from the original inception of KBF. So that's like 40 years, 38 years at least that he was on the air.
When is it again and where?
It's March 20th, 2026. 7 p.m. at Whitewater Tavern, 2500 West 7th Street in Little Rock, Arkansas. That's next Friday. Yes, next Friday. Yeah, at Whitewater Tavern. Here's community announcement from KABF 88.3 FM. The Central Arkansas Library System continues its CAL speaker series with author and rare book dealer Rebecca Romney. on Thursday, March 26th at 6 p.m. at the Ron Robinson Theater in the River Market District. Romney is the author of Jane Austen's Bookshelf, a book exploring women writers who influenced Jane Austen, including Frances Burney, Anne Radcliffe, Charlotte Smith, and Maria Edgeworth. Romney is also known as the rare book specialist featured on the History Channel program Pawn Stars and is co-founder of the rare book company Type Punch Matrix. The program includes a moderated conversation allowed, followed by a book signing with books available through Paper Hearts Bookstore. Doors open at 5 p.m. Additional information about the event is available at cal.org. The Story Literary Series, monthly literary series celebrating African American literature through community conversations, readings, and book signings. The next event will be Saturday, March 21st at 1 p.m. Healing and Resilience with Literary Arts. April Gibson is the author, The Span of a Small Forever. And the location will be determined at a later date. But you can call to find out more information at 501-952-6149. The Central Arkansas Library System and the North Little Rock Public Library System are getting ready for the 2026 Rock Paper Run 5K, which will take place during National Library Week. It's a fun run and walk for all experience levels, going down Sunday, April 19th, starting and finishing at the Argenta Library, 420 Main Street in North Little Rock. The route travels through North Little Rock and downtown Little Rock along the river. This event supports library programs and services across our community, and folks are even encouraged to show up dressed as their favorite book characters. More details are available online at rockpaperrun.org. That's rockpaperrun.org. That's the Rock Paper Run 5K with cows in North Little Rock Public Library System, supporting libraries, literacy, and community. Support for KBF 88.3 FM comes from listeners and community partners. If you're a business owner or planning an event and would like information on how it can be announced on KBF, contact our office at 501-372-6119. That's 501-372-6119. And that are our announcements for today. I'm looking forward to the
Oh, I have one more announcement. Oh, let me see. Can you all hear me now? I changed mics. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. But I just got hired as a Zumba instructor on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock for Sage Health, and it's over the one over there in South University where Target and all of that is. And so y'all come on see me on Tuesdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Tuesdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Zumba with Denise. And it's free for people who are 55 and older.
Okay.
I still don't see me like the thing moving.
Yeah,
You talk, because they said they can hear you but can't hear me. You talk, let me look at it.
okay. So last week
Yeah, it's working for you.
On the show, last week on my show, we talked about one of the things we talked about was voting, and how voting, how everything ends up at the ballot box. And when you start to look at what's happening in this country, you look at the war, you look at situations, when you get people in power, people are voting to power, voting into these offices, and they start to make this, when they start to make decisions that are based on their ideas, their morals, it can become problematic if if it goes unchecked, and we see that happening now. Last weekend, I was in Baltimore, Maryland, and DC for a meeting, and there's one group called Progressive Maryland, Progressive DC, whose executive director, his name is Larry Stafford. they were talking about how they were just going basically door to door in different neighborhoods in Baltimore, D.C., registering people to vote. And they were talking about one of the things that they found so interesting is that there were so many African Americans or Black people who resisted registering to vote, who said that basically it didn't matter, they didn't care, that uh, people are going to do what they want to do. It didn't matter who was in office, and they were trying to figure out, how do you overcome that? What do you know say? And I was like, I think that's something that we find across the country. And then yesterday, to show, when you talk about it doesn't matter about my vote. It doesn't matter who's in charge. But then you see something like yesterday, where Erica Kirk was at the governor's mansion uh, promoting Turning Point USA. And the governor made a proclamation that she would like to see this club in all the schools, and of course, you got clubs, within this. You got the 4-H club in schools. You got the Beta Club in schools, the National Honor Society. You have all these different clubs you can have in schools. But it's amazing that the governor talks about indoctrination in schools, that they don't want anything that's going to indoctrinate children or students in schools. But now you want a club that indoctrinates. And she said it. She said that this club is about teaching people about religion, teaching them about, not only the Constitution, but having them basically to me, this elitist and inclusive idea about what America should be, and not the truth about what America is. And so when you start talking about, and people were upset, I think there were protesters out there. I think some people got arrested, because of the clash outside with these protesters. And that's why it's important we start talking about voting. If you disagree with these ideas, if you disagree what the governor is talking about, if you disagree what the president is talking about, if you disagree what the mayor is talking about, or anybody that's in an elected office, if you disagree, your recourse is voting. And besides that, people struggle to make sure that this generation has an opportunity to vote. So, getting back to what I talked about last Saturday, oh, forgive me, last Thursday, is about this idea of voting. And I started to do a little research, and I didn't realize so many Black entertainers, professional athletes, and stars, Hollywood stars, that don't vote. It's almost like, I got mine. It doesn't affect me. Whatever is voted, whoever is president or whatever, it does not affect me because I got mine. And that's the attitude that has to change when it comes to the Black community. You know, just because you had how you define status or success, just because you have it, you can't erase what it took. Somebody had to do something so that you had that door that you stepped through to get it. How do you honor those people that made it possible for you to be there? And I think it's important that we have this conversation. I think it's important that we learn, and we have to recognize the importance of voting, the importance of uh, going out and using your voice and using your resources, and using whatever whatever you had to not only try to promote voting, but also bring attention to those who suffered died and uh, uh, were mistreated so that you can vote, or even that you could have a voice. So that's the conversation this morning. Any comments, Denise?
Well, here's a comment from Lo. Can y'all hear me now? I tried. We trying to work this. We trying to work this thing out. Can you hear me now? Okay. So Tony and I trying to. We over here trying to share a mic. Okay. He said yes. He can hear me now. Okay. Yes. Yay. Um, so this is what Lowe says. Lowe says that education's main purpose is to solve problems. Education's main purpose is to solve problems. Well, what I was thinking about was that since you mentioned Black people in particular, that I know that we are not members of the African diaspora. We are not living in the spirit of Salbona, that spirit of oneness that binds us together, not just by our humanity, but by our African ancestry as well. We're not connecting the dots. And so when Sarah Huckabee Sanders posted on her own Facebook page about the event with Erica Kirk, she also mentioned in there that she's you can credit the Learns Act, her work with the Learns Act, to lifting up this school, Mural Taylor Elementary School, lifting it up from an F to, I think, a B or something. And so Mural Taylor Elementary is in Jacksonville, Arkansas. And so this school has 64% Black children, and most of and the gender is more girls than boys. So she's taking the money out of public schools and putting them in charter schools, but she wants to send the chapter for Turning Point USA, this chapter, to the public schools. She wants to send them everywhere, but to the public schools so that we can help you become a leader, which means we're going to indoctrinate. We're going to give you what we think that you need in order for you to be a leader in our world. And when we don't vote, when we don't participate, what we're really saying is we don't care about our children, because we already turned our children over to the public education. No, Miss Sarah said that's not what happened. Miss Sarah said that that's not what we wanted to do. All we wanted to do was for it to be equal. If y'all got books that don't have writing all over, then we should have books that don't have writing all over. It was the system that decided this is what it's going to look like and started busing people in. But once we allowed it to happen, once it happened, we didn't raise up and fight it and overcome it. For whatever reason, I'm not judging that. But that means then that our children, what's happening to them? You don't care about them? And that's what, again, about the spirit of Salbona. People be talking about, I ain't got no children in public school. Every child in school is your child. Every child on the planet is your child, if we would believe and live into that spirit of oneness. And that is what we are having a problem doing, for sure. And here's Lo. Lo says, one of the questions that needs to be asked is, where is voter education come into play instead of voting someone based on their personality? One of the questions that needs to be asked is, where is voter education? Where does that come into play instead of voting someone in based on their personality? I cannot remember, but I heard this from Kwame. I did hear this that day that I talked to him, and a whole bunch of stuff fell out from that. But there's some state that has decided that there ought to be a test, a civic rights test for the people who run for office. And if you cannot pass that test, you can't run for office. And so he was talking about us doing that here, like putting it on the ballot, because we are one of those states that can put things on the ballot to say, hey, you can't even serve, because many of the people that's serving us now, based on what you said, Lo, is personnel. You don't even know the job. You don't know the job. You don't even understand the process, but yet we voted you in. And so you're right. We need to do more about, but that's what the whole thing is about. We need to be more educated on the whole process so that we can do a better job of voting.
And when you talk about connect the dots, so you have to connect these dots. You have to get a picture. One of the things I used to do, I used to love to do when I was in kindergarten, first grade. They would have these connect the dot pictures, and you connected all the dots to create a picture. I loved it. I was like, if you want to educate me, give me these pictures. Give me these connect the dots that will show me something at the end, and I could deal with it. And so when you start to look at it, they don't want to educate, because when I was in school, you had a civics class and you had your history and your civics class basically lined up, about the Constitution and about your rights and everything. Well, you don't have civics in classrooms anymore. They don't teach you about voting. They don't teach you the importance of voting, because if you can dumb down the a majority of the population, and do not educate them on voting and different things, then what you can do, you can now switch over to it becomes an entertainment thing. And for those of you who are old enough to remember, when television came into politics, and it was 1960 with John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, it was the first televised debate ever. John F. Kennedy came off very charismatic. He came off very intelligent, where Richard Nixon came off as they said, stoic and just it didn't look good. Kind of like Trump and Biden during the first presidential debate during the last election cycle. Once that happened, the idea became, if we can get someone who can present themselves in a certain way, a charismatic way, then there's a great opportunity that this person get elected. So everything shifted. So now it's about how people, when you look at an elected official and they come on, they're doing their ads, they're doing TV, you look at them and they're just so charismatic. Case in point is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was very charismatic, but if you remember when he gave the speech at the Democratic National Convention, the first one, I think it was for I can't remember who was the presidential candidate. He came off bad, and people were like, "Oh, this hit from Arkansas, go back to Arkansas." But then they start telling you got to be charismatic. So what did he start doing? He went on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone, and now he became an entertainer. But if you look at his record as president, he did more harm to Black people than he helped them. And so now, because you have this entertainment, that's what you're looking at. That's what people are looking at, listening to things that entertain them, and looking at things that basically that entertains them. And once that happens, now you're not even looking at a person's record. You're not even researching what this person how's this person voted, what this person has been doing, and before they start running for office. You're now being entertained. And once you become a person, or once you become a country that's being entertained, now everything is based on a visual instead of an education.
So Lo answers your question. You were trying to figure out who that candidate was. It was Bob Dole from Kansas. You were talking about when Bill Clinton was doing that speech.
Yeah.
I also think that we, especially Black folks, but everybody has to think about the trade-off. And I don't think that we think about that enough. I've heard somebody say, and I'm not going to quote it right, but I've heard somebody say something like, when you think back to what happened with First Nation people and what happened with Black folks when we were being colonized, they came over and gave us a Bible and we gave them our land, or gave us the Bible and we gave them our people. What is the trade-off? And when you think about what I just said about Huckabee Sanders, the trade-off is that we're going to take the money from you in your public school, but we're going to give you this turning point, this what's it called, Chapter America, the America Club, whatever it's called. So that's we're going to take your money, but we'll give you this, and at least you know you got Jesus, and as long as you got Jesus, you're okay. And a lot of us are like that. That's what we look. The trade-off is, okay, I would rather have somebody who's cute on TV than somebody who knows what they're doing. I'd rather have a stupid man than an intelligent woman, because that's what we are more. We're not thinking about the trade-off, and we are so superficial because that's all we're thinking about. How can somebody make me laugh? How can somebody make me feel good? How can somebody make me look? We're so superficial, and that's because we're following the culture. We're following the culture instead of being an individual. We just do whatever we just fall in line with whatever happens without thinking about the consequences. So if we would stop and think, that would help too.
Calling you on there.
Yeah, you were talking about voting and all, and I was thinking on the line of what Mark Twain said. It's like if voting made any difference, then they wouldn't let you vote, you know? So we've had a bunch of politicians. We even had a black president that ran for 2 terms. And how much progress has been made since he left office? We're still fighting for the same rights, the same principles, etc. that we were fighting for while he was in office. We're still doing it. So uh, voting, I don't know. That's all. Thank you.
And, and the reason voting is important, and to me, if for nothing else, and I said it earlier, and we talked about this last weekend in Baltimore. There is a scripture in the Bible, a verse in the Bible where God says, when Cain kills Abel, that his blood cries out from the ground. Especially here in the South, there is not an inch of ground you can step on in the state of Arkansas where the blood of Black people doesn't cry out. And you can even go back if you want to women, white women who did not have the right to vote and how they were marginalized, discriminated against, misused. All of that plays into voting. When you look at, let's look at this. Let's look at it like this. This president basically wants to erase the fact that Barack Obama was a president. If he could take his name out of history, he would. If he could just, if for 8 years, he would like to see it was blank, you know. And then you look at what this president is doing, you know, murdering, kidnapping, just whatever. Now, they said 60% of the population of this country, 60% of the people of this country disapprove of him, which is so amazing. If that 60% would have actually voted, we wouldn't have to worry about him. So a lot of times we sit back and we see the aftermath of what didn't happen, and now we want to complain about it. But if we were proactive, then we wouldn't have to worry about it. They did a study, and they did a survey in Texas. There are more Democratic people, there are more Democratic voters in the state of Texas than Republicans. But Republicans control the state house, and there's more Republicans voted into Congress and the Senate from Texas, even though in these districts, it's more Democrat. Now that lets you know somebody ain't voting. How can that be?
So this is what Low responds to the caller and says, coalitions are built to maintain power concerning voting. Coalitions are built to maintain power concerning voting. I feel the caller. I really do feel the caller. So I struggle with that myself. Now, I am going to vote in every single election because of my ancestors. That is the one reason I'm absolutely going to vote. However, I also feel like there's another component that we're dropping. So for some people, they'll say, well, it's not enough for me to vote just because my grandmama couldn't vote. Like that was then, this is now. Okay, fine. But what we need to do is say, yes, I'm still going to vote until we change the system that will make our vote more effective. So I can understand people saying that our vote isn't very effective, especially considering the fact that we live in a republic, and especially considering the fact that we have the electoral college. So to me, instead of us debating whether or not voting is good in this system, we should say we need another system, because what we need is to have a democracy where it's one person, one vote. That's what we need. I don't need nobody to represent me. I can represent myself with my voice at the ballot. Let my vote count as much as everybody else's vote. Every vote counts the same. So that's where we should spend our fight, instead of talking about how bad this system is. We all know this system is bad. We all know this system was designed to be bad. We all know that. What else can we do besides talk about that?
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you bring that you mentioned that, Denise, because when I go to my international meetings, and there are countries that this country went to support or went to war or did things so that the people of that country could vote, that they could have democratic elections, or have it where the people could actually vote for who they want. And we fought for that, this country fought for that. But in these other countries, they don't put restrictions. In India, if you are a certain age, you vote. It doesn't matter if you've been to jail. It doesn't matter. None of that. You vote. Everybody that is eligible based on age votes. It's like in the UK, in France, and all these other countries, and it's just so amazing. And this is what uneducation will do, because you'll stop and you think, hold up, if we want this in other countries where everybody can go and vote, where they make it a national holiday where you can go vote, where we respect who you vote for. If we push for that in other countries, why don't we do it here? And the reason we don't do it here, because you will upset the power structure. And I agree with you, Denise. This system, that's one of the worst things that happened, was this compromise. How do you compromise with people who succeeded from the Union, started a war? Now, in order to keep the Union together, you're going to compromise with them to actually give them more control in how elections are determined.
So low underscores something that I said. This is not a democracy, but a republic, just like ancient Rome. This is not a democracy, but a republic. And so, Toney, when you said that about the compromise, it does go back to education. And I'm really upset about the fact that we keep being so mad about how they are not educating our children, all children, not educating our children, but especially Black folks, Black children. They're not doing it. They're not educating our children. They're taking things out of the curriculum that they need, and we're complaining about that. But why are they educating our children to begin with? We have all the information that we need to raise up our children in the way that they should go. Why are we depending on them to do that? And then you talk about the compromise. It's like, well, really what I feel like they're doing is everything that they want to hold power, that's important to them, the system for power, they strip from everybody else. So since voting is important, if you are incarcerated, you can't vote. So they strip that part. If guns are important, if you go incarcerated, you can't have a gun. So they strip that power from you. So they strip your power in order for them to have theirs. Caller, you're on the air, KBF. Thanks for calling.
Yes, Speaker Brother Solo being here. Now, I think what would change and pivot all of us would be of our own political party, and I always call it people of color for more, knowing that we deserve more. But in a system of white supremacy racism, I know y'all call it what do you call it?
I call it the system of white inhumanity, yes.
Now, we know the hacks and the whacks, that's the same snake. But how they have divided us, and if they say house divided will not stand. Now we pick our Black leaders, which are only Black spokespersons that really have not served us well. We go through this, what they call the, what am I trying to say is what they have us doing now, being divided, is really, really not helping us at all to eliminate the system of racism. And that should be our duty all year long, not just doing the primary and not just doing the vote that really counts, what we say. And now we think that the vote is a panacea, the cure all, and we bash each other and put on our little "I voted" sign like it's a badge of honor. But at the same time, all the time we're looking at the atrocities that happened to us in the past and that happens all year long when they show up once a year to our churches or our different functions to speak and ask for our vote, knowing that what we say is insane the way they treat us in this insane system. But I think that we had our own political parties, people of color for more, if that's what we chose to call it, we would get a better result of voting and people coming out to really voice their opinions about what should happen and what should not happen. Now, we always say politics is people relations, but the relations that we have now is a tragic, what our brother Neely Fuller would say, it's a tragic arrangement. And this tragic arrangement, which follows each generation, really needs to be changed. And I think we want changes with our own political party. Again, peace and love to all.
Let me get this message from this comment from Knowledge. Brother Knowledge says, when a politician uses charisma to dazzle the crowd, they aren't just leading, they're performing. While everyone is fixated on the right hand, the soaring speeches, the viral moments, the manufactured outrage, the left hand is busy behind the curtain, passing legislation, shifting budgets, or entrenching interests. This is exactly why edutainment, y'all catch that? Edutainment is the ultimate counterspell. If the bad actors are using entertainment to distract, the good actors, that's in quotes, the good actors must use entertainment to instruct. For example, Tony's connect the dots scenario.
Yeah, and so once you start looking at this, so you take Homeland Security, former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. So $200 million that was allocated for her to do all these different ads for Homeland Security and different things. Then it comes to find out that that 200 million was being diverted to a company that never existed until she became Homeland Security Secretary, and then the Deputy Secretary Corey Lewandowski, who created the company. So all that money is going there. And when they asked her about it, she said the president knew. Oh, the first thing he said was no. But see, that's what's happening, is that it's all a money grab. A lot of it is a money grab. So one thing I'm getting ready to say, and I thought maybe I should never, I thought I'd never say this. But when you start to look at the trajectory, did I get it right?
Yes.
Thank you. I love having the English teacher here to correct me. So when you look at how everything is playing out, so they're going to allocate right now, the LEARNS Act is up to right around $400 million. That's our money. That's our money. That's being spent. And this year, at the beginning of the fall of this year, it's going to be open to all students, anybody, all families. So you're talking about it's going to be close to $1 billion. That's our money. So when Denise was saying about educating our children. I am a public school proponent. I believe in public education. But I'm also looking at this. They're taking money away from public education to give for these vouchers. So what is stopping? We're talking about we can educate our own children, just like this turning point idea is that they're saying we want to educate our kids the way we want to educate our kids. We
And
want to teach,
yours too.
yeah, we want to teach our kids what we want to teach them, and we're gonna try to teach yours too, the same thing. But why not us? Like, if you're gonna give this money for homeschooling or whatever, why not a community decides that, hey, you know what? Okay, since you taking my money anyway, let me use that money to the best use for my children. So let us, the community, create a school and get the money, and open it up to the community, to the Black community, that we have our own school, that we educate our children and teach them the truth. So sometimes you have to look at it and say, you know what, you know, if we, because you got to do something. It has to be something that's changed, because in this state, in this state, public education is getting to the point where it will be non-existent. Call on you on the air.
Yes, Tony, again, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about us seeking and promoting a counter or compensatory counter-racist family? I mean, a family that will be functional enough, and that's why I say bringing us together instead of letting the hacks and the whacks or the Democrats and Republicans divide us, where we seek truth as a purpose to eliminate the racism that we have been going through to produce justice and correctness. Do you understand what I mean by that? When I say our voting, that's what we as a family should vote on. When you have little family get-togethers, you would say, what do we need to do as a family? And I'm saying a family of people of color. I mean, the non-white people, because the white people have really played so many tricks on us. I always say we don't know whether it's a trick or a treat when we try to go out and do this, what they call the panacea or the cure-all, the voting. Now, I do vote, but there are sometimes I leave so many spaces blank because I don't know none of these people. And it would seem like a waste of a vote to just fill in the blank when, like I say, in my area, I don't know none of these cats. Now, I was happy to vote for uh, the judge, but like I say, going down the line, if you just vote Democratic, then you know that these guys are the same snake. They, the Democrats and the Republicans, they do the same thing. They ask us for our votes, but at the same time, do nothing to produce justice and correctness. And that was my question to you. Do you think we should be speaking to promote a compensatory counter-racist family? And that family being people of color that want and deserve more. Again, I'll hang up and listen. Peace and love to all.
Yeah, I think Denise talks about it when she says that we need to be the spirit of Sarbonne. Call you on there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, Brother Tony and Sister Denise, those on the web, those calling in and listening. I haven't heard anything about folks saying anything about the taxes they pay. Now, they willingly pay taxes from sun up to sundown before you ever get 1 penny of what you work to earn. Taxation has gotten theirs and done what they want to do with it, give it out to folks in vouchers, fix the streets in the neighborhood they want to fix, take away the parks in one neighborhood that they want to take away, put a park in a neighborhood where they don't even live and do what they want to do with it. I never hear anybody complain about being taxed to death. And to me, seemingly, that's the education that folks have forgotten all about. And I don't understand how it is that when you go to church and spend money, well, I'm not going to say spend money, or tithe, or do whatever you do to make these beautiful buildings and all these paved parking lots that look so nice. Poor people can't even put a tent on them straight. They have to go out in the woods and live, you know. It's a big contradiction, if you will, of we are so enthralled by our religious purposes and our adherence to God's word, and then again, we are adhere to the public or the government, whatever you want to call them, and who have engineered a system to where you just work like a modern day slave and pay for it. Whatever everything that's done to us and to you, you pay for it through taxation. And that's one reason it is so important to vote, is because sooner or later you might get someone in there who does the right thing. That's why it's so important to participate in what's going on, because you might be the person in one of those trials, if you will, where the jury gets hung because someone in there had voted a conscience as opposed to the system of white supremacy racism that you hear about all the time on these kangaroo courts. And America has a history of not just oppressing black folks, but indigenous people, the first people here, they were eradicated, and the money that was taxed and sent to them was kept by the people who administrated the distribution of the money and the funds and the whatever was supposed to have been given to the first people. They haven't gotten there. They got shafted, if you will, and then was lied about it. The same with the people they say are Mexicans, who are just Indians with first people with Spanish names for the most part, who were here when the Europeans came in and settled. And I mean, you had people that just entered their countries and came to this country to live and take over. I imagine when they had an ice potato famine, half of the people that stayed over there, that land was so rotten that anybody that stayed over there was dying and not living right.
Hey,
I'm talking about the British, but
hey, Matt.
In Ireland,
Hey, Matt.
you remember how they did that? So I'm gonna get off the phone and just remember that, you know, if you don't say anything about being taxed and you don't want to participate, see how you don't vote. Don't pay taxes. That if you don't vote, then you shouldn't pay taxes. That's what I'm saying. But you pay taxes and don't say anything about that. So I'm gonna get off the phone and see if anybody can make any sense of that. Thank you.
Okay.
We got a couple of comments here from Lo that one was earlier when he says, however, under this republic system, the people abdicated that responsibility to those elected officials. However, under this republic system, the people abdicated their responsibility to those elected. I'm not really sure that the people did that. I feel like that was the design that we walked into. I don't think the people said this is what we want to do. Whoever made up the system, that's who did that. So I'm not. So I agree with you that yes, that's what happens in a republic. Somebody else represents us, but I don't think that that's what the people wanted. I think that's what power wanted.
Yep.
And then he also goes on to say, quit paying attention to what they say and focus on what they do.
Yeah, because you've got to remember when this system was developed, the people who developed this system were it was an inclusive group. The only people who had an opportunity to choose the structure were white, powerful, landowner men. So yes, they created a system based on their ideas and what they wanted. Not the people, because nobody else had a vote. Poor white people, enslaved black people First Nation people, they didn't have a vote. And the second thing, I'm gonna say this real quickly. I do agree with you, Solomon. I think if people would live in that idea of
Soundbone.
Sarabona, where you can have these discussions. You know, one of the worst, if you want to start some mess within a family or community, start talking politics. Because some people believe there are a lot of black people who believe they got it good. They believe that, hey, everything is good with them and everything. But you have a lot of black people like, man, where? So that's a discussion that maybe we can pick up next Thursday, finish. And yeah, we'll bring this back up next Thursday, continue this
I think next
conversation.
Thursday's the health club.
Is it the third? I can't keep up. So thank you for tuning in today. Thank you, all the listeners, all the callers. Please, if you can, go out to Wrightsville this Saturday for the Wrightsville 21 event. It's going to be at the Wrightsville Gymnasium, 13024 Arkansas Highway 365 in Little Rock. It starts at
The reception starts at 6.
6 and the program at 7. Please go out.
7:30.
Please go out. I'm going to be there. I hope to see you there. It's very important that we remember and talk about the Wrightsville 21. All right. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
What you trying to
I'm
do?
looking I'm looking for the mouse.
You can still sign up, can't
I need to be able to have something come up on when I sign off. Okay. Talk to you later.